In the van today, we have Dr. Susan from UNC Greensboro, retired.
hmm
So, welcome.
Thank you. It's fun to be here.
It's been great catching up with learning about your past before we started the
hmm
show. So, I know you were here at Georgia State, but then you went to UNC Greensboro.
hmm
So, we're welcome to bring you back to the Atlanta DeKalb area. So, we're excited about that. So, tell us a little bit about kind of your general studies, and then we'll move into Buford Highway.
Okay. Well, my background is as an urban economic geographer, and I'm particularly focusing on regional economic change. And my focal area, location-wise, is China. And looking at science and high-tech parks, which I studied all over the United States, first of all, before they sort of allow you to partner up with someone in China, you kind of bring a calling card. What can they learn from you as you're learning something from them? So
Makes
I
sense.
did high-tech parks around the United States, and then um, matched up with a fellow who knew all about Shanghai and was interested in working with me and had a graduate student. So I've been all around China, including Tibet, looking at high-tech parks, and it was a great time to do that as China was rapidly modernizing and getting into technology and learning from each other and that kind of thing. So then I helped bring a student or two over here. In fact, one of them got his master's degree at Georgia State University, and I helped another, became a friend, go from Bhutanese monk to getting a graduate degree, and he's now a fully tenured professor at Georgia Perimeter.
Oh, wow.
So I've been part of change and helping change happen.
That's amazing.
Okay.
When you were talking about China, I went on my only China trade mission
Hmm.
from Chambly, actually, right here where we
Ah,
are. And we went to Shanghai and Nanjing,
oh yes.
trying to actually work to build a Chinatown
Hmm.
here. We have Chinatown right now, as you probably know, it's the only
hmm
one in the southeast.
Hmm.
But we were looking at doing a bigger expansion to Chinatown with that
Ah.
trade mission. So it's kind of interesting when we did that.
Yeah, yeah. Shanghai is a fascinating place. It's my
Really
favorite
is.
city. And it really goes from the Qing Dynasty as modern as you can get. The first time I saw China at all was in 1970 when Americans couldn't go to China, but we could go to Hong Kong and look across at chicken farms on the other side. And those chicken farms are now Shenzhen, which is the size of Manhattan they built in 10 years. And it's one of their major, major export stock market locations. So China has boomed, absolutely. So it's been great to see.
Very
It,
interesting. So you're here today talking with us
mhm.
because of our documentary we're working on Buford Highway.
Right.
So what got you from, I know geography, Buford Highway, of course, can be tied in, but
hmm
what got your interest in really doing the history of Buford Highway?
In a word, food. Because my brother had a job in Atlanta. He's a computer software systems writer. And so, since I was at Georgia State University in downtown, we would kind of converge on Buford Highway and do different restaurants, about once a month. And I was between major projects having to do with China or high tech parks. I said, this is a fun place, Buford Highway. Let's see if there's a story here. So, because I speak two dialects of Chinese, I understand Japanese and Korean and so on. I thought, Friday afternoon, let's see what's going on. So I came up with a little questionnaire and started hitting different places along Buford Highway and walk in and, you know, take a picture at these signs, which I found interesting of in all different languages. I
Yeah.
could tell this is Chinese characters. Oh, this is Korean characters, and this is Spanish. What's going on here? And one of the things I found out, in fact, the mall where we just ate lunch, or the shopping area where we just ate lunch, a lot of the places that would say, Chinese or Asian or Thai or Japanese were all actually run by ethnic Chinese that were coming from all over the world
Okay.
and setting up a business here and specializing in food and food of different kinds. So
So where was the restaurant?
it was called Penang, which I knew was actually where a lot of Malaysian Chinese lived, but it had, Malaysian food, Penang. But I walked in and I saw the Buddha and the incense sticks in the corner. I said, yes, okay, a Chinese place. And then I asked, where do they get their food? Well, there was the grocery store right there, a Vietnamese grocery store. But then listening to people looking around, it was run by ethnic Chinese. And same thing with the Thai restaurant. And then there was an herbal medicine place that one of my graduate students said he'd been referred to because he'd been in an accident. The Chinese other graduate students said, I should go here, get some herbal medicine. And he walked in, and the owner's 5-year-old child came toddling out and was speaking to her mom in Buenos Aires accented Spanish. And he said, because he was from Argentina and he recognized it, he said, how come she's speaking Spanish with the Buenos Aires accent? Well, it turned out the owner of this herbal store on Buford Highway used to have a produce stand and sold to this graduate student's cook around the corner. So small world.
It really is. So
But it's,
really, we were doing some research recently, quick research, not
yeah.
academic wise, and it seems like we're really the only major international boulevard or international corridor in the South.
Absolutely. And it's the product of um, a very interesting time as well as a very interesting place. I mean, what was Buford Highway back in the 50s and 60s, where you had a lot of apartments for blue collar young factory workers at the GM, GE, Frito Lay that closed down. So suddenly space available and refugees looking for places to be, whether fleeing Castro's Cuba or Guatemala or El Salvador or just around the world. But this was the second tier stop. They were coming not necessarily directly from their home country, but the first gateway city stops like San Francisco, Bay Area, or Los Angeles. And finding those places were kind of expensive or there was a lot of competition, and then hearing, well, Atlanta, if you tried Atlanta, Georgia, and there was a lot of sponsoring organizations here, the Catholic, Lutheran, Save the Children, every major immigrant sponsoring or assisting. This was the headquarters of the South in Atlanta. So there were folks to help them get started. There might have been family or just sort of word of mouth. So they started coming here and finding available empty residences, apartments, churches who had declining people in the pews and needed new folks were adopting them. So sometimes Jewish places that the main synagogue had moved out to the suburbs following a migrating population were happy to sponsor and help people too. So it was just a great time in sort of the mid 70s through the 80s to settle in that section of Atlanta. Space available, people who needed, and people who needed to rent to them. But,
So you've done a lot of research on Buford Highway. Have you
mhm.
published like a book, or you've published journal articles, or
Well, I've published journal articles and published chapters and books, so both of the above.
very cool.
Yeah, it was an a little unique thing for someone to be publishing on. And if people were looking for on the ground real things happening, and not just a theoretical model, because that's the
Hmm.
kind of geographer I am, is I can grab a theory but I really enjoy doing the on the ground research. And there was a lot of interesting stories to discover on Buford Highway.
Did you find any like core periphery to where
Mhm.
was Atlanta like the core is?
Yeah, the city of Atlanta was the core, and Buford Highway was the radiating linear road that connected three different counties.
True.
So it had to span the interests and the openness of three different counties, in particular the cities of Chambly and Doraville, which themselves were a little bit different in terms of where people settled and how welcoming they were. You may remember there was a time briefly that Doraville, the people that lived there a long time, your basic Methodist, Baptist kind of communities, were not entirely happy when they finally realized this place has some different people around. And they passed a law that the signage had to be in English language only. And that became a national media event
Wow.
and got negative publicity. And Doraville said, you know, we don't want our town to be known for this around the United States. So they repealed that particular requirement.
Nice.
And,
I didn't know
and
about that part.
oh, yes, I was here during that time. And it was good to see how quickly they turned around and said, no, that's okay. Um, Aside from being open to foreign food, maybe we ought to be a little more open to foreign people too, because they were doing business, putting their kids in school, being helped out by these agencies to transition to being a little more English language speaking, law abiding legal immigrants. So that was another thing that was very useful to have in this part of Atlanta. And you might know Atlanta is interesting. That part of it, they have both Jimmy Carter Boulevard and Ronald Reagan Boulevard. So somewhere between those two presidents, the presence of Buford Highway was developing a little bit below the radar of the usual black and white Atlanta, more like the quilt and the colors of the rainbow.
Yes.
But
That's what's so cool about Buford Highway.
mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, now being the three counties, it's also like four cities because it's a little bit of Atlanta, so I guess.
Yeah.
Then you got Brookhaven,
Mm-hmm.
Chambly, Doraville,
Adorable.
then you get into Norcross.
Mm.
So it's like four or five cities, a little bit of mainly two counties.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool place.
Mm-hmm.
It has the biggest Mexican mall in the south, the Plaza Fiesta, not far off of Beaver Highway. Of course, the only Chinatown. Then you've got some huge international farmers markets
Oh
and
yeah.
regular markets. So it's then you again not far off Beaver Highway is or really right off of it is H Mart for the
Mm-hmm.
Korean market. So it's
Right.
really cool places right there. And you
Yeah.
talk Malaysian because Sweet Hut's bakery is Malaysian.
Hmm.
And then you have
You have a
food
Korean
terminal.
bakery that's really good
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah.
So,
We've got an awesome Korean bakery. It's one of the ones I like to go to is White Windmill.
huh.
It's a coffee shop bakery.
Uh-huh.
It's really nice.
I'll have to remember that.
Yeah, White
Let's see.
Windmill.
Okay. And that's on Buford
It's on
Highway.
Buford Highway on the other side of the bypass.
Okay.
And then you've got
Good.
like a Japanese coffee shop ice cream store because they have the ice cream they put the gold on top of.
Oh,
It's really cool.
huh. That's like the Indians that put gold on top of their sweets too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, quite the variety.
Yeah, we really do. And
Yeah.
then you've got Hispanic and then all versions of
Mm-hmm.
Latin Hispanic and then
Mm-hmm.
um, the Mediterranean and
Oh, yeah. And it's a great mixture of, you mentioned the Chinatowns and the Koreatowns, but also the spaces that you have all of those kinds of folks sharing the same strip, sharing the same mall, and
right.
people coming outside Georgia to go eat the food and buy the groceries and supplying each other. So they have a real supply chain working there. And then called the sort of bimodal occupations. There's the folks, particularly the Colombians initially and the Cubans also, that some of them were engineers, were doctors and PhDs in their home country. Then we have the example of Roberto Goizueta, who rose to become president of Coca-Cola as one of the first wave Cubans. And then, of course, the Havana sandwich shop that
Yeah.
was the third wave, fourth wave Cubans. And the Indians, not so much on Buford Highway, but again, a lot of them are professional folks as well as people who own hotels and
Our
produce
Indian
stands.
corridor would probably be on the way to Decatur. You
Mm-hmm.
have Patel Plaza and all the different Indian restaurants and Indian stores and shops. And then the other
Mm-hmm.
big one is off Jimmy Carter.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And a lot of them, a lot of the Chinese and the people who really valued education went toward Gwinnett County because they heard what a great school system they have. So people coming in, or maybe they have business on Buford Highway, but they live where the school system is, where they want their kids to go. So a lot of intermixture as well as concentrations. And because it was more of kind of a refugee or immigrant strand, you didn't have a big influx of one type at one time.
Right.
They call it segmented assimilation. You know, bits came, so they shared the spaces. But
Well, one of the reasons why we're probably the primary reason we're doing this documentary right now
mhm.
on Buford Highway is for FIFA World Cup,
Oh yeah.
because we want to be able to promote the world coming to
Mhm.
Atlanta to have the world's boulevard, basically, of
Mhm.
international culinary delights and culture and all
Yeah.
with Buford Highway.
Mhm.
So the documentary is going to be running in time to push the people coming to the game to come to DeKalb and be
Mhm.
able to dine and all on different cultures
Yeah,
and
and
put us on the map.
the Olympics kind of had that effect too. And the people who
Yes.
came because of the Olympics set up a Korean restaurant store or a grocery store like Buford Highway, you know, with the labels of different aisles, not what's on the aisle, but
Hmm.
what ethnicity is on that aisle, had a similar effect. That it
Yeah, Beaver Highway Farmers Market set up
by country.
by countries.
Yeah, and even areas within the country. So if you are from Jalisco or Michoacan or the Yucatan, you can find really your local foods there. And the same thing from China. You want Sichuan food, you want Beijing Peking duck, or do you want Shanghai food or Taiwanese food? And there was one Japanese restaurant, one of several Japanese restaurants I went to where I was listening in. I said, no one here is speaking Japanese. It was a Taiwanese owner, employed other Chinese, not necessarily Taiwanese, waiters, and in the back were the Hispanics cooking up the food. And so
Very
a
multicultural.
very multicultural and interesting phenomena, perhaps, of Chinese and Indian and Thai restaurants popping up all over Mexico as these folks went back from the kitchens in Buford Highway to where their sending district, their home district was,
Well, that's
and
interesting.
continuing to cook. So it works both ways. So it's very global in ways that aren't immediately obvious.
Well, it's
But
interesting now you say that because we're working on a global film initiative that would be Montreal, DeKalb County, and Mexico City.
hmm,
That'd be interesting to see Mexico City tied with Beaufort Highway.
I'm sure it does because it's a big place.
Yeah.
And there'll be people sending their, going back to their home villages or even going to Mexico City and opening something exotic like Jalisco tacos or, you know, who knows. But yeah.
Interesting. You ever heard of a sushi taco?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there's a Dominican coffee shop here
uh,
called Golden Drop,
uh-huh.
and this chef is from Dominican, but he was trained by a Japanese chef, so he's developed a
Hmm.
sushi taco,
Taco.
which they're supposed to be having us over whenever the next time the chef is in. I'm like, okay, I got to do this.
Yeah, find out when that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, we're looking forward to going to Buford Farmers Market because they have some, not only the Ethiopian coffee beans, also from a monsoon blend from South India. So just their coffee section alone
We
has
know
got,
there's an Ethiopian coffee shop in Clarkston.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, an
it's been
Ethiopian
there
coffee shop.
for a little while.
Oh, I
Um,
was in Germany working with a university there, and one of the professors said, "Oh, Yirgacheffe. Have you ever heard of Yirgacheffe?" I said, "Oh yeah, my favorite Ethiopian coffee." And he said, "Well, maybe the other Germans will stop laughing at me then. They thought I made that name up." So it is indeed a global phenomenon, and you can find it at Buford Farmers Market. All these different coffees, teas, you know, whatever.
that's pretty cool.
So you come to Atlanta, you come to welcome to the rest of the world. It really is global, but to get the word out where it is, and it's just one long linear highway.
Well, we appreciate you coming on our show. We appreciate you being
Mhm.
part of our Beaver Highway documentary and providing that academic approach to things as well.
Mhm.
So we appreciate you being here, and and welcome your husband here. And thank you so much for being on our show.
Oh, well, thanks for inviting us. We just love coming back to Atlanta anytime we have an excuse. So good luck with the program and with your business.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in.